Today we are looking at some word problems, but don't get too worried. All the word problems that you see in this lesson, they're all the same kind. So once you've seen a couple of them, you'll start to get the hang of it. And we're solving equations in order to get our answers. So we've been solving equations for several days now, so hopefully that part won't be too bad. All right, let's just read it. Number 1. A dog kennel owner has 96 feet of fencing to enclose a rectangular dog run. She wants it to be 5 times as long as it is wide. Find the dimensions of the dog run. Okay, so when it tells us this information here, that she has 96 feet of fencing to enclose the rectangular dog run, do you think that's talking about perimeter or area? If you're going to put fencing around this rectangular dog run, you're going to be putting it on the outsides. So that is perimeter. All the area within, well, that would be area. Like if you were to plant grass or something in that rectangular dog run, then that would be area. But if you're putting this fence around the dog run, then that's perimeter, because perimeter is the distance around an object. Okay, so I'm going to make a note that the perimeter is 96. And then I also know that whenever I'm working with a rectangle, I can find perimeter by adding up all the sides. Okay, so it's asking for the dimensions of the dog run. So that means it wants to know something about the length, and it wants to know something about the width. Okay, in this sentence here, it says she wants it to be 5 times as long as it is wide. In all of these problems, there's going to be something that doesn't get a description. It's just barely mentioned. She wants it to be 5 times as long as it is wide. And it's the width that's not described. I know that it's supposed to be 5 times as long. So I know the length is supposed to be 5 times as much. So I have a description on the length, but not a description on the width. So whatever is not described is going to be our single variable. So since width is not described, I'm going to let it just be W. And I could let it be X if I wanted to. I'm just going to use W because that's what the word width starts with. Now I come back and I try to figure out length based on this description up here. And it says she wants it to be 5 times as long as it is wide. So she wants the length to be 5 times as long as the width. So 5 times this would be 5W. So I know the lengths are 5W, and I know the widths are W. And you find perimeter of any rectangle by adding up all the sides. So I'm going to add up all these sides. I'm going to add 5W to W to 5W to W, and that will equal the perimeter. And I know that the perimeter is 96 because that's how many feet of fencing that she has. And this is the equation we're going to solve. Okay, if there were parentheses, we would distribute to get rid of them. Remember, after that, you look for like terms on the left side and like terms on the right side. Well, we have all like terms on the left side. I can add all of these together because they're all W's. So what do you get if you add all those W's together? 12. Remember, there's ones in front of these W's that you don't see. So 5 plus 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11, plus another 1 is 12. So 12W equals 96. And then to get W by itself, we would divide by 12. And what do you get if you divide 96 by 12? Anybody know? 8. All right, so W stands for our width. So I'm going to come back up here and I'm going to put 8 where the W is, because that's what we just found. W is 8. And then the length is 5 times W. So that would be 5 times what we found W to be, which is 8. And 5 times 8 is 40. And this is in feet. So the width is 8 feet and the length is 40 feet. And those are our answers. And we're done. All right, let's try it again. The width of a rectangle is 3 inches more than its length. The perimeter of the rectangle is 26 inches. Find its dimensions. Okay, once again, we're told what the perimeter is. I'm going to go ahead and draw us a picture of our rectangle. We want to know what the dimensions are, so we're trying to figure out something about the length, and we're trying to figure out something about the width. Okay, so this first sentence here is one that's a little bit tricky for students. The width of a rectangle is 3 inches more than its length. Okay, first I'm going to figure out who's not described. Is it length or is it width? The width of a rectangle is 3 inches more than its length. And it's the length. The length is not described. So I know that the width is 3 inches more. It tells me about the width. It doesn't tell me about the length. So this length that's not described is going to be my single letter. So I'm going to let it be L. So if you've noticed, the thing that hasn't been described has been the last word of the sentence. So a lot of times that's what's going to happen. It'll be the last word or one of the last words of the sentence or the phrase. Okay, in math, we have several really famous switch words, and more than is one of them. So I have this little chant that I taught my students a long time ago that says more than, less than, subtracted from, fewer. Those are some of your really popular switch words. More than, less than, subtracted from, fewer. So if you see one of those switch words, then you start with the back of the sentence and work your way to the front. So in order to describe width, I start at the back of the sentence. Length is L. More than means addition, so plus. And then I work backwards and I see 3 inches. So that is the description for width, L plus 3. So it says the width of a rectangle is 3 inches more than the length. Well, that's what this is, 3 inches more than the length. So anytime we see one of those switch words, more than, less than, subtracted from, fewer, we start with the back of the sentence, go to the switch word, and work the way to the front. Okay, there are other switch words besides those, but those are the most famous ones. Okay, let's draw in our picture. This time the length is L, and the width is L plus 3. Okay, so in order to find perimeter, I want to add up all the sides. This plus this plus this plus this. Do you think we can add them as we go? Instead of writing it all down? What do you get if you add all the L's? You get 4L. What do you get if you add the constants? 3 and 3. You get 6. And so we're going to set that equal to the perimeter because that's the distance around the object. And that's our equation to solve. So I could have done what I did in the last problem and written L plus 3 plus L plus 3. But instead of doing all that, I just went ahead and combined like terms. So I combined all the L's together to give me 4L and then the 3's together to get me 6. All right, to solve this equation, I'm trying to solve for L. So I'm going to get rid of addition of 6 by subtracting it. The 4L comes down. The equals comes down. 26 minus 6 makes 20. And the last step, undo multiplication with division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 4, and I get L equals 5. So I'm going to come back up here, and I found L to be 5. So where my L is, I'm going to put a 5. And then the width says take your L answer, which is 5, and add 3 to it, which is 8. And this problem was in inches. So the length is 5 inches and the width is 8 inches. And those are my answers, and I'm done. Okay, if you were confused, let's just try it again. The length of a rectangle is 4 less than twice the width of the rectangle. The perimeter of the rectangle is 52 inches. Find the dimensions. Okay, once again, I've been told that the perimeter is something, and this time it's 52. I'm going to go ahead and draw the picture of my rectangle. And when it says find the dimensions, it means find the length and find the width. So first I need to figure out what is not described. Is it length or is it width? So let's look at this first sentence. The length of a rectangle is 4 less than twice the width of the rectangle. Which one do you think is not described? The length of a rectangle is 4 less than twice the width. Width is not described. They tell me all about the length. The length is 4 less than twice. They give a whole description about the length, but they just barely mention width. So whoever is not described is going to be the single letter. So width will be W. So in this problem up here, length was the thing not described, so length was the single letter. In this problem, width is not described, so width is the single letter. Okay, and it wasn't the last word of the sentence, but it was the last important word because of the rectangle. It's just a phrase. Okay, do you see a switch word in there? More than, less than, subtracted from, fewer. Yeah, less than is a switch word. So whenever you see a switch word, you start in the back and work your way to the front. So in the back, it says twice the width. So twice the width, that's 2W. Twice means multiply by 2. Then work your way backwards. Less than is subtraction. And then work your way backwards, and you see 4. And so you write a 4. So when it says the length of the rectangle is 4 less than twice the width, that's what this represents. 4 less than twice the width. It's just a lot of students want to put 4 minus 2W. They want to have that flipped around, and it won't work correctly if you do that. So you always want to be on the lookout for those switch words. More than, less than, subtracted from, fewer. And if you see a switch word, you start in the back of the sentence and you work your way to the front. Okay, let's put the dimensions in the picture. So the length is 2W minus 4. And the width is W. So anytime you're finding perimeter, you add up all the sides. So I want to add this side to this side to this side to this side. Okay, so I'm going to start by adding all my W's together. What do you think you get if you add all those W's together? 6. Remember there's ones in front of those W's? So 2, 4, 5, 6, so 6W. And then what do you get if you combine the constants? What do you get if you combine a -4 and a -4? A -8, because 2 negatives add to make an even bigger negative. And then we set that equal to the perimeter, which is 52. And now we just have a little two-step equation to solve. So to get W by itself, I'm going to get rid of subtraction of 8 by adding 8. So -8 plus 8 is 0. Shoop. Bring down the 6W. Bring down the equals. And then 52 plus 8 is 60. And then to get rid of the 6, we undo multiplication with division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 6, and I get W to be 10. 60 divided by 6 is 10. Okay. So I'm going to come back up here where W is written down, and I'm going to label that with a 10. And then the link says take 2 times your W answer. So I'm taking 2 times, what was our W answer? 10. And I'm going to subtract 4 from it. So 2 times 10 is 20. And 20 minus 4 is 16. And this problem was dealing in inches. So the length is 16 inches and the width is 10. Okay, let's try one more. How are you feeling about this? Feeling okay? All right. The length of a rectangle is 5 centimeters more than twice the width. The perimeter is 82 centimeters. Find the dimensions of the rectangle. All right, once again, I'm told the perimeter, it's 82. I'm asked for the dimensions, so I want to know something about the length, and I want to know something about the width, and I'm going to just draw myself a rectangle. Okay, let's read that first sentence and figure out what is not described. The length of a rectangle is 5 centimeters more than twice the width. Who is not described? The width. It tells you all about the length. The length is 5 centimeters more than twice the width. It tells you all about the length. Barely mentions Mr. Width. So since the width is not described, he's going to be the single letter. So I'm going to pick W. All right, do you see a switch word? More than, less than, subtracted from, fewer. Yep, more than is a switch word. So when we see those switch words, remember, we start in the back of the sentence. So twice the width. So twice the width would be 2W. Work backwards. More than, that's addition. Work backwards, and we see a 5. Okay. So when it says the length of a rectangle is 5 centimeters more than twice the width, that's how you write this. 5 centimeters more than twice the width. 2W plus 5. All right, so let's put it in the picture. The length is 2W plus 5. And the width is W. So to find perimeter, you add up all the sides. This plus this plus this plus this, but you can only add things if they look alike. So let's start adding the like terms. So let's add all the W's. And what do you get if you add all those W's? 6W. And then what do you get if you add the two constants? A positive 5 and a positive 5. A positive 10. And that's going to equal 82. Because the perimeter is a distance around. And this is what we got, 6W plus 10 when we added all those sides. Okay, what do you think you do first? You're going to subtract the 10. To get rid of addition of something, you subtract it. The 6W comes down. 82 minus 10 makes 72. And then how do you get rid of the 6? You divide. So we're going to divide both sides by 6. And if you take 72 and divide by 6, that makes 12. All right, so I'm going to come up here to where my width is, and we just found the width to be 12, so I'm going to label this with a 12. And then length says take 2 times W. So 2 times W, which we found to be 12, and then add 5 to it. So 2 times 12 is 24, and 24 plus 5 is 29. And these are in centimeters. And those are our 2 answers. And we're done. All right, that's all for this lesson. Smiley face.